Gareth, first of all, last time you played Andorra, the next game was against Poland. You made 11 changes. Should we be expecting something similar for the game against Hungary tomorrow night?
Well, we'll definitely make changes. We've got a very strong squad, and part of the reason that we made the changes we did the other night, there were some specific profile of players we thought could help us win the game. But also we want the squad to feel involved, and it's important that they know they're valued, that they can contribute. It wasn't a friendly the other night. There were World Cup qualification points resting on it, and those games have gone wrong in the past. So I was really pleased with the quality of the performance as well as the application, and we're hitting a very consistent level of performance, which is great to see.
For instance, somebody like Phil Foden played so well on Saturday night. How difficult would it potentially be leaving him out?
Well, I have a headache and I commit a crime every time I pick a team. So it's very difficult every time you have to name a squad, because we have so many good players and such good, strong competition for places. So, of course, there were lots of players that did their own confidence and their own reputations the world of good the other day, and that's pleasing to see.
Mason, if I can just bring you in now. I saw a couple of days ago the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or was released, and you were one of the names on there alongside Lionel Messi, Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo. How did it feel when you found out that you were on the Ballon d'Or shortlist?
Yeah, it was special. I probably found out exactly the same time as everyone else, so to see that and to see the names, to be alongside them names, it's obviously a dream, and I think for all the years that you work hard, dedicate, and see something like that, it shows that everything pays off, and it's just a start. It doesn't stop now.
Do you fancy your chances against some of those names?
I doubt it, but you never know. The most important thing for me is that I continue to keep trying to hit the levels that I've set before, and go even further. That's always been my mentality, and hopefully that continues.
And Gareth, one of the players who could start tomorrow night is Tyrone Mings. Obviously he played in the Euros, and after the Euros he did an interview where he spoke quite candidly about some of the problems he had during the summer, especially his mental health suffered because he thought that a lot of the country had doubts about him coming in for Harry Maguire. Do we sometimes underestimate how difficult it is for players to play at the highest level, and how much work do you do to help these England players when it comes to their mental health?
Yeah, I think it is one of the hardest things to go and perform, to play any professional sport. You're performing in front of a crowd of tens of thousands very often, and often a television audience of millions. So there is a lot of pressure on very young people across all sports. I think in this instance, I know the phrase mental health was used, but I think this was a bit of performance anxiety, if you like. I've spoken with Tyrone about it. I've had chats with him in the lead into the tournament, and I think there was that. There's always that doubt in your mind as a player if you've not been in that sort of situation before and in that level of game. Until you've done it, you don't necessarily know that you can cope. And then when you go in and do as well as Tyrone did, that gives you tremendous confidence moving forward, because he dealt with two really high profile and difficult matches when he started at the start of the tournament. But yes, we have Ian Mitchell with us, who's our team psychologist, but also there's medical team and others that and I think part of our job as coaches is to be there for the players if they have any issues or problems in any aspect of their life. So the door is always open for them, whatever they might want to come and speak about.
just turning to Jack Grealish, he came on and scored his first England goal on Saturday. I think sort of 12, 18 months ago, he wasn't guaranteed a place in your squad, and now he's almost an automatic starter. What has changed? How do you think his game has developed over the past 12, 18 months?
Well, I think a consistency. I think the end product, you've got to separate the last month or so at Manchester City, where he's just starting, from the period at Aston Villa. So, the period when he first started with us at the end of the lockdown Project Restart, I didn't think his form had been so good, but the beginning of last season he started really strongly, scored goals with Villa, had hit far higher numbers than he had towards the end of the previous season. So then came in with us, learned how we work, learned how we want to play. His work out of possessions improved a lot, and that's improved again with his requirements at Manchester City. So, and then of course he was unfortunate that to miss such a long period of time at the end of last season. He played the last 3 games, but he wasn't doing any training. He sort of got himself out there so that he was open to be selected for the summer. So, in the summer he could only train 2 days and had to rest a day. It was difficult for him and for us, but he's gained the confidence of being with this group, the confidence of having a big club pay a lot of money for him. I wouldn't say he's necessarily a far better player than he was, because he was a very good player with Aston Villa, and that's why we picked him. But I think he's establishing himself. He's playing now in the matches. Last week 3 really big games. They're the games where you really find out about players, when they're under the highest spotlight and against the toughest opposition. And the more our players are involved in those games, the better it is for us as a team.
I don't know if you saw, there was a very good interview in the Sunday Times yesterday with Paulo Sousa, the Poland manager, and he said that England under you don't play like an English side, and he said you play more like a team coached by Pep Guardiola, and he was very complimentary about the way England play. I wonder, do you think this England side doesn't play like a typical English side, and what do you make of the comparisons with Pep Guardiola?
Well, I think the start of when I joined the FA, one of the things I wanted to do with the under-21s was, I knew there were different sorts of players coming through our academies, and we wanted to change the perception of English players and English coaches. And we know that we've got some players. I mean, look, we've always had outstanding players. We've had Champions League winners, and we've had the Gerrards, Beckhams, Scholeses, Rooneys. So we can't say we've never had good players, but some of the ability of modern players to play in a different way across Europe, not just our country, is fascinating to see. The tight possession games that are so common in training from when they're a young age, you now see such a high level of technical quality across Europe, and our young players are no exception to that. They can really handle the ball in tight areas. We saw it the other night again in what can be a game that's quite been sticky in the past for us to break down a packed defence. And the only other thing I would say is that I think across Europe we've gained a lot of respect. When I travel in Europe and I talk to European coaches, there's probably in a way a greater appreciation of what we've done and the way that we've played than there has been here. So that's always reassuring, because you want the respect of your peers, and I think they've recognised where we've been over the last 30 years or so, and the signs that we're starting to show, and the ability of the players to play in a certain style. So it's not for me to say whether how that compares to our teams of the past. I can compare it to the teams I played in. We had some very good players, and we had a couple of good tournaments, but the style is different. The game then was so much more stretched, and every year that passes the game gets quicker, and the players get more athletic and technically better. And
Mason, you played in the game against Hungary in Budapest last month. That was quite a hostile atmosphere. What was that like as a game to play in? And do you think because of what happened during that game that has brought the team closer together?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably up there with one of the best atmospheres I've been involved in, to be in an away game and have everyone against us. As a team, you can thrive off that, and I think the way we played and obviously the result we got in the end showed the confidence that we had in ourselves, the togetherness we had throughout the game. And it was difficult. I mean, the first 45 minutes we didn't score. We kind of found it a bit difficult to create chances, and then we come out second half, we get the goal, and then we get 3-4 after that. So, we know they're a tough team to play against, but that experience that we had out there definitely, I think, brought us together and made us stronger as a team.
And just the final one from me, Gareth. Arsene Wenger, his new proposed international match calendar. I know a lot of people have been talking about the fact that we could have a World Cup every 2 years, but he's also proposing changing the international windows. At the moment, there's 5 windows spread out through the year, and under his proposals, there would only be 7 qualifiers, and it would either all be in October or in October and March. So I just wonder what it would feel like for you as an international manager if you only got to see your players in October and then during the summer. How would that affect your life and your job?
Well, I think there's another part of that. What if your player was injured in the October? He doesn't play international football for a year. So I'm not quite sure where everything is. I saw some initial proposals. They seem to be doing the rounds, and I'm not quite sure exactly what's on the table now. It seems to change every time I speak to Mark Bullingham at the FA. There's been another presentation and another set of proposals, and it's hard to keep up with, really. So all I would say is that I think everybody needs to be there in the discussion, club football, international football. I think that I've said before, there can be tweaks to the calendar that would help everybody. And, if there are maybe slightly fewer windows, but you get the players together for a longer period of time, that might help the clubs and the international teams. But I think if there's only one per year, I don't really understand that as a concept from FIFA when international football is so important part of what they do. And as I said at the start, if you're a player and you miss that one month or however long it's proposed to be, then you don't have an international career at all that year. That seems that doesn't really seem to make sense to me.
Thanks, Carve. Next we'll go to Carrie Brown of BeanymanSports.
Gareth, we've lost some true England greats, sadly, and Sir Jimmy Greaves being one of them. Looking to the Harry Kane, he scored a remarkable goal every 123 minutes for England, only bettered by Jimmy Greaves. How privileged do you feel to be coaching in the lifetime of Harry Kane? There are so many question marks about him, but at the moment about his scoring record. But how does he make your life as an England coach better?
Well, you only have to look at that goals record and the importance those goals have been to us over the 5 years we've been working. And when you put the comparable with the 5 or 6 other players at the top of that scoring chart and you look at those names, it's a reminder of how much Harry's already achieved on a personal level. And of course, I know what's been more important for him has been the team getting to two semi-finals and a final. So, without a doubt, he's a player that has to keep proving himself. I think he knows that. I think he relishes that. And we know that when those chances fall, you've got huge faith that they're going to hit the back of the net, such as his technical ability and his mentality and calmness when those chances come.
You talked about this suggestion of a 2-year World Cup, and if you didn't have certain players with you at that time, we saw what you experimented with a quarterback role in the past week. Do you think it would hold back tactical progression in international football?
I've not really thought about the proposals too much, because as far as I know, they're only a draft. So I gave it some opinions to Arsene when he showed me some of his ideas. I don't know how far everything's, as I said, progressed. There seemed to be a lot of things that weren't discussed in the original proposal I was shown. So hard to keep track with it. As I said, I think there were some things that were. There were some good things. More, we all want games to be meaningful, and we all want high-level games. I think the Nations League semi-finals and finals again showed the quality of the games there. Exactly the types of games we want to be involved in. They help your team to improve, and they help players to improve. But all of that calendar needs joining up. We can't just keep adding. Everything's got to be joined up, as I've said in the past.
Mason, a question for you. First of all, very many congratulations on your nomination for Ballon d'Or. Saw that coming. I want to ask you, because you've gone through your first major tournament in terms of the Euros, and you are regularly a player that does not get injured, and that's sort of at the start of a very interesting time in football with so much changing. How long did it take you to recover from the Euros, both physically and mentally? Because Thierry Henry said, it took me 25 days, more than 25 days mentally, more than the break to get back into the game. For a young player like you, who is so disciplined and professional and is so readily available, how long did it take you, and would you be ready for a major tournament every summer?
Yeah, I'd love that. But I think after the Euros and what happened and the experiences that we went through, it probably did take longer than anything else. I think you do reflect on how it went, what we did as a team. Me personally, you look at your game and it was obviously such a big heartbreak for us to go all the way and then to fall at the final hurdle. It was a difficult one, so you do look at it. But we're footballers. We now have to look at the next goal and the next kind of challenge that's up. So that was obviously, we had a break. I can't remember how long it was. Wasn't too long, but you have the break to kind of get away from football, to relax and not kind of think about anything, and then you're straight back at it in pre-season. So that was kind of the period that I had.
We're seeing all these extraordinary change from the Super League onto now a 2-year World Cup and a tournament every season. Do you hope that the players get consulted ahead of all these plans in future? Because it seems to be the third, the fourth, the fifth group of players consulted.
I think so. To have the players' input would be positive. I think us as players, we want to play in as many top tournaments, top games, as Gareth said. We want to be involved in these big games. So, to speak to us and to get our opinion, I think, as I said, it would be a positive one, and it would help kind of shape the future.
And I want to talk about the competition in this squad as well. A very strong team in the last match could change all again. How competitive is it in this side as we go to a World Cup? Can anyone be assured of their place?
I think if you look at the England YouTube of us training, you can see how competitive it is in training. We're a very close group of players, so anytime we're in training or competing against each other, we want to win. And having that healthy competition going into, say, a tournament or any game, it's good for the group. But yeah, we're very close, as I said, and going into every game, we all know our roles and responsibilities.
Sorry, Kerry. If you want to unmute yourself, you're good to go. Allow you one more.
Yeah, I got muted, sorry. Gareth, just we missed the top a bit with some sound issues. So just to check if you can confirm that you have a fully fit squad or any injury concerns. And we did see, sadly, those scenes of your players being racially abused in the last match against Hungary. What is your message to anyone that can't tell the difference between racism and a team playing against one another?
Well, I don't think there's a lot for me to add on what we've already said in the past about racism and tolerance for each other. But I don't think there's anything relevant in that to tomorrow's game. In terms of the squad, a couple of minor knocks in training, which I think will be fine, but just a couple to check on. But nothing. I'm not expecting anything to keep anybody out of the selection.
Thanks, Kerry. Next we'll go to Alex Howell, BBC Sport.
Hi, Gareth. You're unbeaten in 28 World Cup qualifiers, and I know you've mentioned Italy's unbeaten run in the past. How important is that number to you when you're measuring the progression of the team, when you want to be mixing it with the best teams in the world?
Well, I think it's not so much the number, but it's the mentality, because we can't be a team that has a day off, and we want to keep the consistency of performances. We've had that definitely throughout this calendar year, and that was shown again the other night. Everybody knows there's that competition for places. Everybody knows that they can't afford a day off, and they've got pride in putting the shirt on every time they play, and they want to show what they're capable of as a team. So, yeah, what pleased me after the summer is similar to when we came back from Russia. There was a desire to go again and to go the next step, a hunger to keep improving. We know we've all got to try and do that, and that's what I've seen every day. There's an edge to training. Some days when there's competitive games, which is good. I think it's healthy, and we've got to keep that atmosphere as it is now.
And taking on to my question for Mason, Gareth's spoken about the mentality. As a player, why do you think the mentality in this team is so good?
I think if you look at the players we've got in the group, the leaders, they wouldn't let that mentality drop at all. And I think as a group, I've said it many a times before, how close we are. We set that standard so high that we don't want to ever drop below that. I think if you look at the last game, it could be a sticky performance. We could make it difficult for ourselves, but with going into the game with the mentality we had, with the brightness we have on the ball, and the players that obviously started the game, made it easier than it could have been. So and that's all down to the togetherness we have as a group.
Okay, thanks, Alex. There are no further hands raised, so we'll conclude it there. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.